It's James from JR Warner Photography, and I wanted to do a review today of a camera that I don't think many people will have used before. Certainly not recently, because it's a 1970s Zorki 4K. Now, the reason I got this is I wanted to experiment a bit with not just film photography, but an entirely different style of camera. Now, I'm filming this on a DSLR, and DSLR basically is a digital SLR. SLR is a single lens reflex system, so essentially you're looking through the lens via a pentaprism or a pentamirror. Now, the mirrors and prisms on these cameras make for really easy focusing. You can generally see exactly what you're going to get in the photo, whereas the Zorki is actually what's known as a rangefinder. Now, the rangefinder uses a viewfinder that isn't actually physically connected to the lens, so the lens sees one thing, and your rangefinder actually helps you figure out what the lens is seeing when you're focusing. To give you an idea, I'll just take the lens off, and you can see how disparate the actual film would be from where the rangefinder is. The rangefinder on the top here, you won't be able to actually see as you're looking through it exactly what's coming in the lens. So this is what we call a parallax. It creates a parallax between what's happening here and what's going on here. So the closer you get to your subject, the more offset the actual viewfinder is going to be. Now, it doesn't matter too much because most of the lenses for these systems don't actually focus that close. So what we can do, we can actually have a look at this lens. Now, this is a Jupiter 8. It's a Soviet era device. Soviet era lens. It's an f2 lens, so it does open pretty wide, and you can see all the way through there. And it's stopless as well, so there's no physical stops on this lens. It's nice and smooth, and the focus ring also is pretty smooth. Now, the really cool thing about this focus ring is on the back. This is actually how it controls the rangefinder. So it's got a little rim here that pushes back the mirror in the rangefinder to help you focus, and I've got a quick video here showing you how the focusing works. We're looking at a really boring picture here of my patio doors, but it shows you can see in the lighter area in the center an actual offset image of what's going on in the rangefinder. So the offset image you bring into line by focusing the lens, and once you do that, you know your picture's pretty much in focus. And it's just a case of working out the depth of field you want by setting the aperture and taking the shot. Now, the Zorki itself doesn't have any kind of light meter. There's no way of the camera telling you what setting you should be on, so you really do have to try and figure it out yourself. And this has really helped with my photography, being able to guess, or at least guesstimate, the exposures on here. Because it's film, there's no chimping, you can't see what's on the back, so you really do have to get very good very quickly. And this has influenced my digital photography, so now with my digital cameras I can actually pretty much guess spot on what settings I'll need for what kind of light. So having played around with this for getting close to a year now, it's really given me an idea of what sort of settings I'll need. And you set the shutter speed at the top here. Now with this dial you can't actually change this. Once you've release the shutter, you actually have to cock it again before you change it, otherwise you mess with the timing on this. So that's something else to bear in mind. There is a cold shoe mount here. Now, I've not actually done any flash photography on this for the year, but I imagine you would be able to mount some kind of hot shoe accessories on here to do that. You've got your film winder here, which is great when you've done, obviously, wind the film back on. But you can also see that your inserted film's working when this starts spinning around. So generally, yeah, this is a fantastic little camera. It's got a timer on there, so you can set the timer and it will wind round, round and round and round, and eventually it will actually set off the shutter, so we'll just let that happen. And there we go. So it actually sets the shutter going, and then you have to recock the shutter again before you can press it and take another photo. So I'm just going to put the lens back in. Now it's a L39 screw mount, so if you're looking at this camera and you're looking at different lenses that are available. I mean, there's some great lenses by Voigtlander that fit this. Even some of the older Canon rangefinder lenses actually fit perfectly on this Soviet era Zorki 4K. I'm going to go through some of the pictures that I've actually taken with this now and show you exactly what sort of images you can look to get from this. It's a fantastic camera though. It does a really good job. The lens is wonderfully sharp, and you get that really old sort of vintage look to your photos, and there are still lots of places that will process the images, even put them onto disk for you. So that's how I got some of these. Some of the other photos I've taken, I've just got the prints and scanned them in myself, and you get some really good results that way. But yeah, very, very basic camera. You get a viewfinder where you can actually see through your viewfinder what's going on. You get a lens, you get film. Speaking of film, I'll just take the bottom off, which you do by releasing these two caps and spinning them around, and spin this one the other way, and there you go. You can see inside here you've got your film mount and obviously the curtains there. Just close that back up again, don't want to get too much dust in here. But again, that's the beauty of film. It's basically having an interchangeable sensor. You don't worry too much about the dust. It's good to keep it clean as always, but in terms of getting dust on your sensor like you do with digital cameras, new roll of film, new sensor. So yeah, I've been loading this up with cheap Agfa film from Poundland actually, and it's worked really, really well. So I'm going to show you some of the pictures I've taken with this camera now. Go through colour and black and white. I've done all sorts. I even took this this camera to Germany with me, and I see this being an ideal sort of travel camera because there's no batteries, there's nothing it needs to actually take the photo other than the film. So if I go out abroad with enough rolls of film, I could keep taking photos with this until I run out of film, rather than worrying about when my battery might run out on my camera. So I'm going to finish it here. In terms of a review, I definitely suggest trying a rangefinder of some sort. Obviously the popular ones, the more famous ones, things like the Leicas and the Canons, brilliant cameras. This is a Russian copy of a Leica. Now, I can't say that it's as good as a Leica. I've never really shot with any Leica equipment. But what I can say is I was really impressed by some of the sharp in-focus parts of the image, the out-of-focus bokeh. Looks brilliant, and I was really, really impressed with the camera as a whole. It's it's the inherent nature of taking film. It slows you down and it makes you think about what you're actually taking a picture of and whether it's worth using up one of those 36 or 24 exposures that you've got. No more of this unlimited sort of snap happy photography with the film. And again, that has influenced and fed back into my digital workflow. I tend to be a bit slower in terms of what I'm focusing on, and because I've got the benefit on the camera here, the SLR, of really focusing in on my shot and seeing what's in the frame and actually being able to see that, I tend to take my time more looking around the frame, excluding the bits of an image that I don't need, making sure I include all the bits that I do, because I don't have that benefit here with the rangefinder and the parallax. It's hard to tell what's going to be in the frame, so you've kind of got to learn how that will look once you've pulled that shutter, once you've taken that frame. You've got to guess what that will look like, both in terms of the exposure and the content. But the more I've used it, the more accurate I've become in guessing that. So really fantastic camera, really solidly made, all metal design, and made in the USSR. So you can't go wrong really. Built like a tank, probably going to last my lifetime and beyond. And I really can't wait to get out and start shooting with it again. But until then, here are a few of the photos I've already taken.